everyone, welcome back to my channel, if you're not new here. If you're new here, that's awesome. Like, whoa. I'm making a video today about 2010s urban legends, and what I find very interesting about 2010s urban legends is that no children know what they are anymore. I'm old. I'm in my 20s. So I'm gonna get started with 3 of my favorite 2010s internet legends. Today we're gonna be going over Herobrine, the Slenderman, and EVILSTIck. And I'm going to be determining whether these stories are true or not true, so stay tuned for that, in case you've never heard of these before. Now, the first story we're gonna start with is the Slenderman, and that is because I believe that the Slenderman is probably the most popular, and because of, you know, events surrounding the Slenderman, people pretty much know who he is. Like, I'm convinced that if I asked, like, my 10, 11-year-old niece, hey, do you know who the Slenderman is? She'd be like, yeah, that's old. But, like, she would know. We're gonna start with the Slenderman, just to recap, because this story was absolutely bonkers. The Slenderman story began in 2009, so I guess this isn't technically a tale of the 2010s, but it became popular in 2010. The origins of Slenderman were when Eric Knudsen, aka Victor Surge, online, was a competitive kind of photoshopper. He would do, like, art contests. This creator uploaded 2 images of the faceless icon we know today as Slenderman to the Something Awful forum for a Photoshop contest. And the caption that he left was just cryptic enough that it grasped everyone's attention. He originally captioned the photos, "We didn't want to kill them, but his silence and outstretched arms comforted us and horrified us." And a recovered photo from the Sterling City Library blazed the day 14 kids vanished. Oh, and there's Slenderman. From that day, myth began to spread across the internet that these were real photos. They weren't, but the myth began to spread, and because they were created in, you know, a context of a Photoshop contest, the realism is what made it believable for the contest, and that also is kind of what made it believable for the legend. So people began to write creepypastas, which, for all of you little babies out there who don't know what creepypasta is, go to creepypasta, I think it's .com. It's a website where people can read and upload scary stories and scary short stories, and a lot of them are really hilarious and really funny, and a lot of them are really terrifying, and a lot of them are just dumb. Okay, who was phone? That's all I gotta say. People began to write creepypastas and scary stories online on websites like Tumblr, Twitter, etc., and published these works, and that's when people started making lore for the Slenderman. Apparently the Slenderman lived in a mansion in the middle of the woods, and he demanded sacrifice, and he brainwashed people into making sacrifices, and he would leave notes around for kids. That was a big thing. There was a video game where you would collect all the Slenderman notes, and that's really funny. I remember when I was in, like, middle school, we we drew a bunch of scary drawings and hung them, like, at the park, and we were like, oh, it's scary. The little kids are gonna think it's a Slenderman. But the lines of fiction and reality began to blur in 2014 when 2 12-year-old girls in Wisconsin, Morgan Geiser and Anissa Weir, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that, lured their friend Peyton Leutner into the woods and stabbed her 19 times. Why did they stab Peyton Leutner 19 times? Because they believed that by sacrificing Peyton, they would become proxies for the Slenderman, and he would invite them to his mansion in the woods to live. Okay. A lot of people know this story. It was extremely troubling, extremely upsetting, and for those of you who don't watch a lot of true crime and have never stabbed anybody, stabbing someone 19 times is not an easy task. Okay, that's a pretty difficult job. It was horrific that Peyton Leutner even lived. She was able to drag herself to the road and flag a car for help, and she probably wasn't doing much flagging. Someone probably just saw her body on the side of the road and thought, oh my god, what? Peyton survived the brutal attack, crawling to a nearby road where she was found and rushed to safety. These girls had literally turned an internet meme into literal bloodshed.
Get a grip?
The incident raised troubling questions about the dangers of online culture, mental health, and responsibility of content creators. And I'm just gonna say, as a content creator, not a big one, I'm not responsible for anything as prolific as the Slenderman, okay? I had a video about online fetishes that almost has 100,000 views. That's my piece de la resistance, my creme de la creme, okay? That is my child. Creators should not be responsible for deaths surrounding fake stories. Like, what? Is Stephen King responsible if a bunch of kids went into a sewer and started... I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not even gonna go there, okay? Victor Surge added these photos to a forum for a Photoshop contest. This is not on him in any way. Like, hello? And it's also not on the people who wrote scary stories inspired by the photos. What did they do? Nothing. Hollywood caught on to the Slenderman epiphany in 2018 and released the Slenderman movie, but it got a lot of criticism for multiple reasons. One being because the literal stabbing of the Slenderman had happened like 4 years prior, and people were like, that is not in good taste. But honestly, I mean, like I said, I don't think content creators and media creators are responsible for what the people do unless they're outright telling them to do something wrong. You know, if you're telling people and brainwashing people to do something wrong, maybe. But if you're doing a work of fiction, sue me, I guess? I don't know. Not only did it receive harsh criticism because of the Slenderman stabbing, but it also received harsh criticism because it didn't really capture the psychological terror that the legend of the Slenderman had online. That was a whole nother level. It's an absolute phenomenon, the Slenderman. It really is probably a building block, stepping stone, I placed this brick type story, theme, whatever, of my interests today. Like me being so interested in horror and analog horror and psychological horror. The Slenderman really ticks some boxes. And looking back, is it gonna be nearly as scary as I thought it was back then? No. No. But what I will say is, for the time, it was revolutionary, and we should give it credit where it's due. So is this a true story? Yes and no, because is the Slenderman real? No. But are the effects of the Slenderman real? Who's to say? The next legend I'm going to be talking about is the internet urban legend of Herobrine. Back in 2010, the Minecraft community got its first taste of true internet horror when the mysterious figure known as Herobrine, a spectral entity with glowing white eyes, haunted players' dreams and their Minecraft servers. Yeah, to an extent. The legend began on July 31st, 2010, when a user named Flaky on 4chan, I believe, posted a chilling story on a Minecraft forum within 4chan that said that after listening to the 13 music disc within the game, that was a literal disc of music within Minecraft, and he listened to this track, he was encountering some weird stuff, like white glowing eyes and white matter kind of floating in caves, and it was all very mysterious. To make things even creepier, the user Flaky uploaded a photo where he had seen a white-eyed creature staring out from him in the fog and in caves, and he said initially he had his rendering turned down low to help him, you know, play the game more smoothly, and he thought it was a cow in the distance, but it was actually an exact copy of the protagonist's skin of, you know, Steve, the main character of Minecraft, with whited out eyes. And he uploaded this screenshot, and this is where the story of Herobrine really began. This is all very hearsay, she said, he said type stuff, but there is a rumor that he got in touch with someone who tried to get him to stop posting about Herobrine and on 4chan, and they also had the username on 4chan Herobrine, and so that's where they went ahead and named this entity Herobrine. And the internet, you know, it took notice, as it always does, and they began to make speculations and theories and memes, and soon Herobrine was literally everywhere. Was it a glitch? Was it a hoax? Was it fake? No one really knew at the time. It was speculated heavily that Herobrine was an entity that appeared as the dead brother of Minecraft's creator, a person who goes by the name Notch, and he haunted the game. Which, does it matter that Notch doesn't even have a deceased brother? No. Because when you're creating an internet legend, the devil's really not in the details, okay? Like, you can just say anything. Who cares about details when you're creating an epic internet legend, an internet icon, one may say? Not me. Two popular streamers at the time named Potamus and Copeland began searching for Herobrine content and making faked videos and fake streams where people would have like a Herobrine type skin and they would appear in the stream, and you know, people weren't happy when they found out that these were faked, but it also perpetuated the rumor that a creature or entity within the game named Herobrine existed. Then when mods started coming out on PC, it got even crazier because there were little plugins that had really inconspicuous conspicuous names like I love you and things that people would add on to their game, which would have Herobrine modded into it, where he would just appear. And then there'd be like creepy things like trees without leaves or mysterious pyramids and things like that. But it was all a part of mods. It was never a part of the base game. It was fabricated, essentially. When the saga hit its peak, it was in the 2010 Minecon. The executive of Minecraft, Notch, the creator, basically confirmed that there was no Herobrine, and there's never been a Herobrine coded into the game. There's no way that that's possible. But, you know, to the people who thought it was a ghost, I guess they were still probably skeptical, because, like, how do you code a ghost into a game? Maybe it was haunted. Maybe this is some been drowned type stuff, okay? I don't know where I'm going with this. Players began using mods to their advantage and began creating Herobrine encounter content, and it all started to just kind of become disheveled from there. But one thing I will say about this internet urban legend is that it was actually kind of terrifying when it happened. I was like maybe in I was like maybe in second or third grade in 2010. Yeah, I was in second grade in 2010, and this was absolutely scary because we all had iPod Touches, okay, and we were playing Minecraft Pocket Edition, and it was really funny because like all of our friends would join like servers with each other on our little iPods, and someone would pretend to leave signs like all over the island, like all over the world, and like write scary stuff like I'm going to kill you, and they would put signs up and they would destroy people's houses and be like, I don't know who did it, guys. It must have been Herobrine. Herobrine might have been a hoax from the start, but even after Notch confirmed that Herobrine was never real, he continued to live on in the hearts and minds of gamers everywhere. He became a meme, a legend, like he's, you know, on everything, and Minecraft has even acknowledged his existence, saying that, oh, we removed Herobrine and things like that, in updates, patch notes and stuff, like just silly stuff. And overall, it really is one of the most iconic internet legends of our childhood that has continued to persist even within the 2020s. Now we're going to move on to my favorite scary story, internet urban legend. And this one is true. I'm just gonna go ahead and outright say it. This one is 100% true. This is the story of EVILSTICK. In late 2013, a mother named Nicole Allen was in a small discount store in Cleveland, Ohio, where in the back of the store, in the back of the toy aisle, she found a bunch of discount toys. She grabbed one, a magic wand, and put it in the cart for her daughter. Now, she didn't realize that this wand was clearly labeled EVILSTICK. I think I would have realized that, but I will say that the font on this toy was very inconspicuous. It blended in with the background. Also, that's a total copyrighted anime character, like just thrown on there as well. But nevertheless, she grabbed this magic wand. It was just for her toddler, and she thought it was not going to be a big deal, and it would be a cheap way to keep her distracted. The wand was about this big, pink, and it had a foil center, and it boasted on the packaging that it played music. When Nicole Allen removed it from the package and pulled the plastic strip that prevented, you know, the button from being overly pressed, instead of music, it had like a weird, high-pitched, evil sounding laugh. It also lit up, and when you pulled the foil away, it revealed a horrifying photo, which I don't even know if I can show it on my YouTube. I'm probably gonna have to blur some parts of it out, but I will just explain it to you guys. Trigger warning, if you do not like sensitive topics, I'm going to go ahead and tell you to skip forward about 30 seconds and I won't say this again. But it was a photo of a woman who was cutting her wrist and smiling into the camera with red eyes and fangs, with blood dripping from her mouth. The mom who found this was absolutely like horrified. News outlets soon latched onto the story and they began calling the company in China that manufactured these toys, only there was, to everyone's surprise, no comment. Like, dude, of course you're not gonna get a comment. Imagine trying to call a warehouse from Temu on your cell phone and being like, hey, do you know about item number 7,006,942? Yeah, no, they don't know, dude. They don't know. The photograph featured in the wand was one that was completely re-edited and reworked by a photographer who was rather reclusive, who specialized in gothic, New Orleans-y kind of esoteric photography, and this was supposed to be depicting like life as a vampire, the original photo. Whoever made the EVILSTICK for some reason put glowing red eyes on her, as if the photo wasn't scary enough. But the photo was originally taken by someone who was named Butcher Ludwig, not to be confused with Ludwig von Beethoven. My great-grandfather's name was Ludwig, actually. It's not a far-fetched name, okay? It's rather popular. He was Slavic. I'm Slavic doll, if you cannot tell, by blonde. What am I fucking doing right now? Butcher Ludwig was known to run in reclusive New Orleans circles of controversial, vampiric type work, and he was known for his gothic, blood-soaked visions of people being people in New Orleans. You ever been there? That explains it. Stores from Cleveland, Ohio to Chicago reported having these toys, and all of them had images behind them that were a little scary. Like sometimes it would be like a zombie or something kind of scary, but really this photo was the scariest one, okay? It was horrifying, and there wasn't any other evil stick like it, alright? If you got this variation of the evil stick, you got the crazy one. Who wanted to make this? Like, I'm just imagining some factory in China, some like 25-year-old like employees, like, I'm going rogue. I want to scare a child so bad. The truth about the evil stick remains unsolved. There were many YouTube creators who tried to get a hold of the evil stick employees. They would call overseas factories from barcode numbers and lot numbers found within the toy, but eventually it went to a dead end. Like, you know, there was email correspondence with some people saying, oh, we'll get back with you, and then they never did. So, who knows what happened? Honestly, I think it's more interesting just to accept it did happen than try to figure out why. But also, I'm not a parent, and I may feel differently if my child was scarred by that. Because of websites like Creepypasta and Tumblr and deranged fan art, internet urban legends were on a different level in the 2010s. I just don't feel like internet urban legends hit as hard as they used to. I don't know. What do kids do for fun these days? Like, besides dance on TikTok? Like, I'm sounding really old right now, but is there anything scary online? I guess one of the scariest ones that's came out is Schoolboy. What's his name? Smart Schoolboy 9. Smart Schoolboy 9 is like a 2010s-esque internet urban legend, internet character. But really, there's not anything scary online anymore. Like, bring back the internet being horrifying. That's why kids aren't scared of it anymore. We were scared of it. Did we care? No, we still got on it. But like, bring back scary internet, dude. What's your favorite scary legend of the 2010s in the comments down below? And I might just make another part to this video. Might make it into a series of scary internet urban legends. Who knows? If you've made it this far, I want to give you a big thank you. Mwah! Thank you. A big kiss on the cheek. My dog right here wants to give you a big kiss on the cheek. I really appreciate it. Until next time.